How you doing, everyone? This is DJ Sana Cody. I hope everyone's well. Enjoying this video that I'm gonna post right now. I'm live. I know it's a weekday on Tuesday, but I want to dedicate Tuesdays to Mental Health Day. It's very important. Mental health through Indigenous Taino Eyes. So, just to just to let no people know that I'm just gonna wait a little, maybe a minute or so, see if anyone comes on. It's always good to have watchers, some live watchers. Hey, Patricia, how you doing? You're my sound check person. Do you hear me good? Do you hear me well? I think it's a minute delay. I'm not sure when the people can respond. But if you can hear me, please say hello. I can hear you well. All right. Very good. Very good. Thank you, Patricia. Hey, Patricia, where you from? What state are you from? I'm here in New York City, Lenny Lenape territory. Manhattan Island. Manhattan. Island of many hills. Florida. Oh, man. I hope you're doing well. All those hurricanes, Wabansesh, showing up. I believe Temuca territory. Oh, that's amazing, man. I was just talking to someone today about Ponce de Leon, the governor of Borinquen, Puerto Rico. He went to Florida looking for the Fountain of Youth. And there he met up some of his old enemies, the Taino, who were waiting for him. And they perfected the arrowhead made out of metal that was rusty metal. So that's what killed Ponce de Leon. I don't think you're mistaken. I heard Temuca. Yeah, a lot of our Taino ancestors and the Seminoles, different other tribes, they will hide in the swamps, the Everglades, And the miracle is, how did they survive without being eaten by alligators? But when the Spanish went in, they got eaten up. But not the indigenous. Thank you, Gators. Little storytelling there. Hey, man, today I'm going to do something very special. Today I'm going to talk about mental health through Taino Eyes. Here in New York State, I am a licensed social worker in the clinical field. So, part-time, right now, I work part-time as a psychotherapist, full-time as a hospice social worker, and I do a lot of counseling for grief work, pre-bereavement, before the actual death. A lot of stuff goes on there, and I'm very honored to meet people where they're at, in their homes, in their neighborhoods, and to believe it or not, a lot of our Boricua, Dominican, Jamaican, Haitian people, when I go to their homes, I see those artifacts. I see that spirituality still alive and well in the people. The sad part is that many people don't recognize that, but it's so important for those that do recognize it to empower others. You know. Today I'm going to introduce a little short intro on the stuff that I've learned through the years of using the medicine wheel or the sacred hoop as a means to understand or to improve our mental health as indigenous people. Now, if you're not indigenous, that's all right. We're all human beings, and this all applies to everyone. So next week, I'm going to introduce a super book that kind of summarizes what I'm going to talk about today. And if you guys are really interested, you can always hit me up on TainoFunHouse at gmail.com. One of my passions is learning and applying and helping others, empowering others, how to get over their trauma as indigenous, especially Taino, right? The trauma that we hold on to for so many years, and it starts at birth. Just yesterday I was talking to someone. When was it? Oh, they were commenting about some of the postings I've been putting on about Columbus, and the cruelty that was inflicted on our people in the late 1400s, 1500s, and all throughout the ages. And there was a lot of brutality. So believe it or not, those memories are still in us. It's in our DNA. So sometimes it wakes us up, or sometimes we become so afraid. So today I'm going to teach you about the sacred hoop, or the medicine wheel, or as Taino, through Taino Eyes. Let me introduce you. And I've done this so many times. It's not a great circle, but the concept of the circle. And as you know, with the Atabe circle, the sacred circle, we have the dot in the middle. Okay? So this is the Atabe. She's holding on to it around her neck, like a necklace, the Atabe. So if you're listening right now, or if you're watching this, well, not listening, I think I'm in Taino radio all the time. If you're watching this now live, or in the future as you download this show, thank you very much. I want you to get out a piece of paper. I want you to do the circle and a dot in the middle. Okay? Now I've said this many times on Taino Radio. If anyone follows my show, it's on Anchor FM or Spotify. Wait, not Spotify. Yeah, Spotify. The circle, now I put a cross. Sometimes some nations, they put an X instead of the 4-directional cross. They put an X. I like it like this, just visually. I love it. A lot of nations call this the medicine wheel. So check this out. You might not heard of this, and maybe a lot of people in the Taino community may not agree with me on this, but there's 12 semis, as I mentioned, and then there's the dot in the middle, right? We call it, I call them in previous videos called Nen, the one that does the mute, the one that does not talk. But here's the thing. In this context of the medicine wheel with the cross and the dot in the middle, this is a semi that is human. This is what makes a human sacred. These 4, and there's actually, I should say, there's 5 aspects to being human. So we are semi. We are sacred. We're not the sacred beings or being, but we are part of the sacred being. So you don't have to go a million miles away, traveling to different galaxies. Just sitting with yourself right now, drawing this circle, the cross and the dot in the middle. You are paying honor to you. You are paying honor to the Creator who created you. Okay? So the same stuff that's in our body is found in the universe. So it's very important to understand this, that you are Semi. You are a sacred being. You are a manifestation. You are an aspect of God. So this Semi, you and me, have special powers. And one power that's special is your physical self. So we are physical beings. And I like to put this on the eastern side, the northeast. You are a physical being that's sacred. So the questions you're going to ask in a mental health kind of way, in an indigenous way, is physically. I want you to do this before you go to sleep if you can. Try to do it every day. This is how we honor ourselves. Draw a circle, cross, dot, or an X. And on the physical side, I want you to be as brutally honest as you can. So I'll give you an example. I'm going to put myself out there, okay? Because I try to be as transparent as possible to teach as a Behike, as a Cypher Behike. Today I have my blood results. The results came out from last week when I had my yearly physical so I can work. And the doctor was very compassionate, very nice. And she says, well, I'm sorry to say that your diabetes is stronger than ever. So I kind of, it kind of gave me a blow to my heart, because I've been trying to fight diabetes type 2 for over 2 years now. and it goes up and down. My cholesterol's nice. Triglycerides are not non-existent there. My arteries are good. You know, so I can't understand how this diabetes keeps showing up constantly now for the past 2 years. So it's kind of a blow to me, you know. So physically, as before I go to sleep tonight, I'm gonna I'll do it right in front of you guys. It's like wow, now I got to deal with this disease that kills a lot of people, especially native people. It takes out your organs slowly. Now I've been fighting high blood pressure as well for many years, and you know that seems to be a little under control. But now with the diabetes, that's a bad combination. Especially a lot of people that I visit in hospice care, a lot of the disease they have is related to high blood pressure, diabetes, that deals with strokes, heart attacks, and so on. Especially strokes among our people, a lot of strokes, a lot of artery disease, heart disease, and so on. So I know this firsthand. I see what it does to people. So on the physical realm, um, my day was focused more on diabetes and what can I do. And I've been taking a lot of natural medicines to combat diabetes, and it's not as high as I thought it would be. But for the doctors, they always say it's high, it's high. And of course, Western medicine, they give you a lot of medications and so on. So, and I always leave it up to the individual. I'm a believer. I'm a kind of Bahika that says, you know what? I look at the symptoms. I look at the side effects. If it's hurting me, I'm going to stop. Look for an alternative. But if it's not hurting me, it's helping me, then I want to monitor that. Because a lot of these Western medications, they do work, but in the short term. If you take these medicines long term, it can have effects on you. So it's very important to be proactive in your health. And that's the physical realm. A lot of people, as another example, they really don't find themselves attractive physically and so on. Again, that's up to you. And maybe if you have a partner, and also this discussion is with God. But this is all related to the physical realm. Okay? Now a lot of people who may have heart surgery or just had a stroke, prayers go out to you. That's also going to affect your mental health. But we always start in the physical realm, where you live. Like a lot of people now are suffering in the South. So that's going to affect their mental health. The power of Waban Sesh, the hurricane. And that's trauma right there. So, and there's people dying. And there's also a lot of politics involved in all this, unfortunately. But here we go. The physical affects your mental health. So underneath the physical P, I'm going to put super M, which relates to mental. So on one half of the eastern, northeast is physical realm, and now you have the mental right below it, which is the southern or southeast, right, direction. Now mental, whoa. As many of you know, the brain controls everything. If the brain works well, we're working well in the physical realm. Now it also affects our mental health, the brain. All the circuits, right? The nervous system, all those neurotransmitters that carry these messages. It's so important to honor the brain. The cultures, they say the chakra, the head chakra, the crown, I should say. Very, very important to respect your brain, which is physical, but it also contains the mental aspect. So when you have someone who's suffering from depression, chronic depression, like they can't even get out of bed, or you may have some more severe cases of bipolar disease, there's medications that are needed to stabilize the brain chemistry. So important to consult with a doctor, a psychiatrist, a psychologist to get the testing done. And fortunately, if medications can help you, it's very, very important. And there's plenty of studies to look over. Hundreds of years of studies, right? On I should say hundreds, but at least a good 100 years since Sigmund Freud, right? On the whole sense of depression. Also, anxiety is a major, huge component of our daily life. In past 4 years, right? With COVID first, then with the politics, and now with the politics again, and a lot of fear and a lot of anxiety out there. Maybe you lost your job, you lost your house. That's a whole different level when it comes to anxiety. And believe it or not, anxiety is, guess what? It's natural. Some scientists think, Norbela, there's some places that say that, well, I should say places, there's some scientists that believe that, why do we have anxiety? It doesn't make sense. We're relatively safe as a people. Well, that's a different, that has to be analyzed, right? A person in Gaza will not be saying they're safe. But we do have this anxiety that helps us to worry, okay? Helps us to be alert. But what happens when there's a mental health issue, that worry becomes your daily life. And that's the problem. That's where anxiety comes in. So on future shows, I'm going to dedicate on those depression, anxiety, and there's also, different mental health problems as well, dealing with, OCD, or, and then you have your major personality disorders like narcissism. There's a whole bunch, antisocial. It's deep. We're gonna take it little by little through Taino Eyes. Okay. I'm just gonna review here today the circle, and then we have after the mental, we have emotional. That's right. You have to address your emotions on a daily basis. So I put the E on the southwest. Okay. Emotional health is so important. Okay, so before you go to sleep at night, write what kind of emotions you had today. Oh man, I was very sad, and actually I was disgusted because once again I have diabetes. So the emotions I felt was, frustration, sadness, and fear of dying before the age I want to die. So I have to protect my organs. I have to protect my mouth, the food that I ingest now. I can't play around. So that made me very sad. It made me frustrated too, and disgusted at myself. That's when I was walking to the job. So you gotta write these feelings down, these emotions, because it helps us. It helps us. What's that word I'm looking for? It helps us evaluate our mental health. So we got physical, mental, emotional, and way up on northwest, we have the big S word. And this you find a lot in native peoples. We get a reputation of being very spiritual. Very spiritual. So we got four aspects of being a human being: physical, mental, emotional, and the fourth one is spiritual. We're spiritual beings. We're not just physical, we're spiritual. So when we see life, we see the world, we put meaning into it. Many times you hear that phrase, right? What is the meaning of life, right? Well, for Native people, not just what's the meaning of life, but how do we live this meaning? And Natives have this reputation of being stewards of the earth, the caretakers of the earth, because earth is our mother. You see? So, and that's part of the physical as well. Your relationship in your community, relationship with the trees, the earth. What do you do to fight pollution? Do you litter? Okay, that's physical. Now, the spiritual aspect is you're looking at meaning, something greater than yourself, as they say in AA, right? That motto. I like that. Something greater than yourself. But check it out. In the spiritual sense, the flip time is we're sacred. We're semi. So we have to honor ourselves in a spiritual way. So how do we do that? Good smokes. We smudge ourselves. We take vitamins, minerals. We try to eat good. We go to ceremonies like sweat lodging, or we go to different ceremonies to honor me and honor the other in community. So it's very, very important. You have to keep up with yourself in a spiritual way. What do you do to help other people? Do you volunteer? Do you donate money and causes? Or, all of this. It's looking at the other, but it's also honoring yourself. Okay. And when you go to ceremonies is all traditionally for Native people. It's all about giving. See, we already receive life. We receive relationships in our families, the community, and so on. So now, in the spiritual sense, it's time to give. And sometimes we have to give to ourselves. Well, not sometimes, always. To eat the good food, as I say, be with positive people, and so on. So here's the four aspects of what it is to be a human being. The four aspects. Every human being has this. So we have the physical realm, mental health. We have the emotional realm, and we have the spiritual realm. And what keeps the wheel spinning? See, in the Western notion, life or the universe is like a line. The Big Bang, and here we are. In 8 billion years, the sun is going to turn into a supernova. In 200 years, this huge glacier is going to melt, and there's going to be 10 feet of water added to the oceans. See, there's like a timeline. But in the native way, in the circle of life, it's a spinning motion. So life will repeat itself. Or we're going to constantly learn different lessons so we can improve, we can learn. So this whole circle aspect, it's not a line. There's no beginning, there's no end. It's just a constant. Excuse me. So for someone who's in recovery work, you have two different models. One is the AA model, where you count the days that you're sober, right? So you've heard people this for 10 years I haven't drank or haven't taken cocaine in 20 years, and that helps people. That lineal mentality, that helps people, and I'm not downplaying it. But there is an option in the circle aspect. You're gonna look at yourself four ways: physical. Man, I can't believe after 1 month I started drinking vodka again. See, that's physical. Okay. Then you're gonna look at your mental health. Your mental health aspect. Yeah, I was so depressed because I got fired, and I don't know what to do. I don't know how I'm gonna pay the rent. So physically, you drank vodka again to deal with this mental aspect, what's going on, and the emotional, which is the fear, and the what do you call it? Um, the fear, the sadness, and the worry, and so on. That's the emotional. And then the spiritual. I don't know if you heard a lot of people. I've been a victim of this. Well, what I'll say is, oh, God did this to me. I used to think like that many moons ago. Where, yeah, man, why did God do this? Why am I being punished? You know, and to be honest, at my worst day, those images will come to my head. Like, what did I do wrong? Why is God punishing me? The problem of evil, right? It comes up, especially when you're vulnerable, especially when having mental health breakdowns. You make yourself the victim. So with the circle imagery, you're looking at all aspects. So physically, yeah, I took that bottle. Mentally, I had anxiety, depression, some symptoms of it. Emotionally, I'm a wreck. I'm so upset at myself. So I drank the vodka, And then spiritually, I may go to church, or I may go to a ceremony and try to cleanse what I just did. Now, what's good about this model, relapse, failure, the wheel is still going to spin. It's not going to stop, okay? It's not going to stop. So life goes on. But life goes on, there's ways you can slow it down. So before you go to sleep, you can slow down the speed of the wheel and reflect, okay? So I challenge all of you in the spiritual way, look at this wheel as your journey and an opportunity to slow down, the speed of the wheel. And how do you do that? can sit down every night, do what I just did, do the diagram, write out the words, write out phrases, or you can document in your computer or your phone, and just look at yourself in an honest way. So, in 7 days later, if you're still drinking vodka, there's a problem, and that's when you're gonna need some help. Or emotionally, you're yelling at everyone, you're upset, or you're jealous, or at your partner, or whatever, and that's the constant theme emotionally. So you got to look at that. So you're looking at patterns, and that's what slows down the wheel, so life does not become overwhelming. And as indigenous people, we stop, we pause, we go to ceremonies, we look for our elders, we look for our teachers, our medicine people, and we try not to do this alone. But there is a fifth component to all of this, and that's the Atabe dot in the middle. And what is that? I ask you a question. What makes you get up in the morning? You can stay in bed all you want. It feels good sometimes, especially on a Sunday, right? Want to stay in bed all day. But what makes you get up on a Monday morning when you have to go to work? What makes you get up? Is payday the only time you want to get up? But here's the thing. We all have this energy force, what I like to call the life force, in us all. And this is what makes us sacred. This is what makes us a semi, is that we have the power to do anything we want. Okay? It could be constructive or positive, or it can be destructive or negative. But we still have that power, okay? Now, psychologically, there's the whole sense of conditioning and being taught certain things as children that are not nice, are not negative, learn behavior and so on. But honestly, we still have that power to choose, positive, negative, constructive, destructive, and so on. And the native spirituality, the native mentality is evil. Evil in most traditional circles, evil does not exist. Okay? What does exist is these powers that are positive, negative, destructive, constructive. Okay? So in a native way, we're looking to balance all of that. We're looking to be in rhythm. This is why the drum, the rattle, the mayawakan, whatever instrument, it helps us center ourselves. The dot in the middle, the will to live, the will to do great things for people, or the will to make money so I can buy a house, I can travel, or the will to be greedy, to get as much money as I can and forget about everyone else, or I could be a landowner, or a land that has, for example, I was talking about crocodiles before. It's filled with crocodiles, right? But I don't tell the purchaser that be careful, there's crocodiles on the land. See, that's bad on me, because if I don't tell them that, they might not buy the land. But at least I'm being honest, instead of being dishonest. So we have these choices. We have this will. Now, in a native way, this will comes in many ways. In the Western world, they call it dreams. In the native world, they call them visions. So I'm going to draw something for you. And this is what makes us truly healthy. Physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. When you put it all together, this is what makes us healthy. I don't know if you can see this, but it's the dot in the middle, and then I have like a swirly line coming out of the circle, and there's a V on top. This is the vision. Many traditions, many indigenous traditions, they have different ways of receiving a vision. Okay, like the Dakota way, the vision is going into 4 days and 4 nights up in the mountain, and then you don't eat, you don't drink water, and you go into this trance-like state, and then you receive a vision. In the Sundance, also, people go into the Sundance for 4 days, and then in those days, they receive a vision. Okay, or when maybe you go to sleep, get a profound vision of who you are and where you need to be. See, that's the life force. That's what makes you sacred. That you have this potential, you have this power that you can either kill people or you can love people. It's crazy. There's people every day in America. We see it all the time with these mass shootings. You have that capacity, and unfortunately, when one of these components of the circle is injured, you're gonna have problems. So a mass shooter, you hear these stories all the time. They've been bullied as children. They can't take it anymore. They go to the schools and they kill. Um, Something mentally was wrong. Something physically was wrong. Emotionally and spiritually. See, that's the key. But what keeps us healthy is to have that vision that's not hurting anyone. So if your vision is to go into a school and to kill teachers, then that vision of yours is negative, it's destructive, and that's not healthy. What's healthy is that you are healthy and everyone else around you are healthy. And that's all part of mental health. Okay, it's so important to put these four and the fifth one together. If the four are working at a good speed, you're gonna get that vision. Okay, you're gonna get that vision. Now I don't know if that vision you already have, but vision is so important. And there's ways that we can help people in the tribal way to receive a vision. Short story. Back in 97, I went to my first Sundance. Now, I did not participate in it. It was in Crow Nation. I was invited to the ceremony, and it was out at daytime, 4 days, 4 nights. I went, I believe, on the second day, and it was scorching. It was like 100 degrees. And I see these dancers in the circle, and they're dancing towards the pole. And on top of the pole was a tree that was cut down, and it was a buffalo head right on top of the tree. And when the time came, they charged the tree, and they had a bone whistle when they danced back. Now, in this specific tradition, the Crow Nation tradition, they don't use the wooden pegs. They don't pierce. There's other tribes where they have to pull and pierce from the tree. So what did I see? I saw these people, and I'm saying, damn, it's 100 degrees. How in the world, without food or water, they're able to dance? Once again, their will was to receive a vision. Okay, that was their intent. And once you start, unless you're medically injured or sick, you continue on. It can take you 1 day, 2 days, 4 days. So when I was there, we were invited inside the circle for prayers, and it was a medicine man and his son were healing people with their feathers. And all of a sudden I hear boom, and I look, and there was a lady that fell on the grass, and she had a regalia, and I'm like, oh my God, did she die? And I'm looking to see if she's breathing, and then someone comes and puts a blanket over her, and this blanket was wool, some kind of heavy material, man. I'm looking at the sun, I'm looking at the blanket, I'm saying if the dance didn't kill her, that blanket will. This was coming to my head, and I got a little worried. And no one seemed to be worried. I'm like, is this a dead body or what? Is this part of the ceremony? Again, I'm very ignorant. I was very ignorant at that time. And then the medicine person came right to her, took a feather and said some prayers, took the blanket off her, and she stood right up. So later, after the ceremonies, they told me that what it is that when you dance and you go to the center pole, well connected to our creation story with Yaya, the Wojio, Olakane, and it has the center pole, and you put the gore, right? And you put the bones. For the crow, they put the buffalo, the sacred buffalo head that keeps them alive, or kept them alive so many years in the plains. And then the tree of life, right? But what does all that represent? It's all centered on the middle, the sacred circle. And that's when I started my journey into learning about the psychological, spiritual, physical, and the mental aspect of these ceremonies, And that's when I started learning from these medicine people, their ideas. or their traditions, but it all centers on the vision, that spiral. And once you get your vision, life becomes a um, little better understanding where your role is and where you need to be, and especially where you are now, the center. Okay, so the visions keeps you present, and your focus at the same time is the future. So just today, I was speaking to someone who I don't want to share their name. I didn't get permission to use their name, but this is a true story. Just today, they were accepted into a college. They're going to start college, and they already know their goal. They know what they want to do, you know. So I said, well, once you know your vision of what you're going to do with your college education, then all these classes you're going to take, no matter how hard they may be, it's all part of your plan to reach your vision. So they're not bad. It's not These classes no longer look vicious or scary or overwhelming. No, it's part of it's the stepping stones to reach your vision. Because once you know your vision, you know how happy you're going to be. You know what's coming. But in the meantime, there's certain things you have to do to get there. The farmer plants the seed. That farmer has faith that that seed, if it has enough soil, you know, nutritious soil, sunlight, and water, it's gonna grow into a papaya tree, right? And every day they come and they make sure the soil is good, they make sure it's moist, they make sure there's no pests on it, and the birds are not trying to pick out the seeds. Every day, 5 in the morning, they're out there with the plants, talking to them, with the hope and the understanding as well that one day it's gonna be a tree so they can feed the people, right? So that's the vision. A beautiful papaya tree, or quenepas, whatever, right? It's all about, once you know your vision, once you know the end result, everything else is just part of the process. And why not? Let's have fun, right? Let's have fun. So when it affects our mental health, oh, I'm not gonna pass this class. It's too hard. The anxiety's off the hook. You know, the mindset, the indigenous mindset. 5 aspects of a human being: physical, physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. And in the middle is the power of the will. Okay, the power of the will. In psychology, they call it volition. That's what I believe is the birth of life, the life force, right? The dot in the middle of Atabe is the life force. Now, I did this the other day. My daughter said this is man, I can't think of the name, man. Anyone can write the name of this great mechanism? A gitlet. My daughter had corrected me. But see, this is Atabe, the dot in the middle. This is the what do you call it? The triangle of Yokahu. And then you spin it. And there you go, you have the circle. You have the dot in the middle and the different circles. And this is power, man. You can hear sound. This is generating power. This is generating energy. And I can even feel the coolness of it. So this is the life force. And we have the power to create energy, more energy from our energy, from our visions, So we have in the Yokahu aspect of the masculine god, we have the Yokahu Bagua Manakoti. So physically, you have the Yuka spirit. Then you have the water, Bagua, and then Manakoti. There's no beginning, or there's no father. It just is. So in the circle model of healing, especially mental health, the model is there's no ending. It's just a constant. constant energy. Okay? So when you look at your mental health, you also got to look at your physical health. You got to look at your emotional health. You got to look at your spiritual health. And when all of that is in sync, perfect rhythm, you're going to get a circle. See? Slowing down a little bit. And sometimes you have to slow down. Like I said before. Why do you need to slow down? Because you got to look at your physical self. You got to look at your mental health. You got to look at your emotional and your spiritual. And sometimes, unfortunately, in life, depending on how you're living, depending where you're living, depending on how your physical health is, and so on, that wheel might slow down. Okay, it might slow down. It's gonna slow down. And then eventually, when your life is slowing down, right? It's slowing down, eventually what's gonna happen is your energy at the human level will eventually die in a physical way. Okay? That northeast region. And then eventually that energy that was given to you for free and birth through two people that got together and created you. But that life force will eventually stop in a physical way. And this is what we call death. Okay? This is what we call death. But there is hope. Because energy never dies. Okay? So they can take my body and they can bury it on the ground. And I guarantee you my nutrients will allow plants to live. It will give nutrition to the soil where plants can one day grow, and maybe if I'm lucky I could become a tree, right? So energy doesn't die, man. So my physical self may die, but right now we're alive and well. You're listening to me, you're watching me, and I can feel your energies. I got my pal here. Even though he looks dead, he's very much alive. He's just chilling out, man. His day's coming soon. They're dealing the winter, right? The Day of the Dead. But here's that's another thing, man. We never die. Our ancestors did not understand death the way Western world does, because the memories, the teachings, and so on will carry on. The DNA that I have, when they look under the microscope, whatever they do, their genetic, how they do it, somehow they saw all these different nationalities in there, or different cultures in my DNA. How did that happen? Man, that's that genetic inheritance, right? They're still alive. So, but they're alive in me. And then when I die, it's my memory and my DNA will continue on in my daughter and my son. And then when they die, their DNA is going to continue on to the next generation. And then when a generation stops, like say my children stop having children, my memories are still going to be alive because people are going to know about me through their sacrifice. In other words, if there's a generation in my family line that stops producing or reproducing, then okay, that person will be buried or cremated. But it just doesn't disappear. It goes into the earth. So nothing is wasted in nature, right? I remember Ita from Ita, if you're listening and watching, remember you said that to me? Nothing is wasted in the world. I remember Ita, Boricua Taino, was teaching me how to fish, and I remember I had some sardines on my net, and one of them got caught in between the planks, whatever, on the bridge we were at, and I fell back, so I said, oh man, that fish is gonna rot, I said, hey, don't worry about it, nothing is wasted. All of a sudden, this big seagull came down, and little by little, it just took the fish. It plucked it out of where it was stuck. But there was still a little piece left. right? Then I saw a crab come, and the crab took the last piece and went their way. Nothing was wasted, man. And that life force of that fish that was caught now went to the bird, now went to the sardines. And this is why that old adage, right? When we kill the buffalo, nothing is wasted. Nothing is. Nothing is wasted. That's the traditional way. So whatever you encounter mentally, it's not wasted. You're receiving the knowledge. Okay? You're processing it and you're storing it for the future generations. This circle never, never dies. This life force. We may die. We will die. But one day it's going to spin again in a different way. Man, I'd like to thank you all for tuning in. Starting tonight, before you go to sleep, do the chart. Do the circle, the Atave circle, dot in the middle, put the crossbars or the X, and start talking about yourself. How am I doing physically? How am I doing mentally? How am I doing emotionally? How am I doing spiritually? And what's my vision? What's my vision before I die? Or what's my visions? You may have different visions. Hoping to help you, hit me up, TainoFunHouse@gmail.com. You need help. A little apologies, I'm still working on those necklaces. I promised some of the watchers that won this before. I kind of messed up. I'm kind of rusty doing necklaces. But I'll be with you. Before I go, there's 2 announcements. I'll be back on Friday talking about Taino spirituality, which is the spiritual part of the wheel. Today we spoke about the mental. On Friday we're going to talk about the Taino. I'm going to start with, once again, I'm going to break down the semis again, and so on. The 12 with the number 13. God bless you all. Bo Watukan. And this is DJ Sanakori, your cyber Behike. Don't give up on yourself, okay? Try your best to continue on. And if you need to give up the negative. Give up the destructive part of yourself. And let's keep the wheel going. Anhankatu, so be it.